Somebody out there who is a little bit mature wants to have a baby. I hear lots of that today. In our driven world, where young ladies are told that to be equal, they have to work as hard as they possibly can in their youth. They wake up in their 40s and beyond and say, oh my God, my biological clock has ticked or tocked, and now they want to have children. Well, good news is, here at Hippocrates, one of the favorite things that we've done over the last half century is help people in that process. Not personally, but through lifestyle. We had at one point a wide array of baby pictures from moms and dads who attempted to have children, sometimes for year after year, could not do it until they adopted the complete Hippocrates diet and lifestyle. The reason being that this diet and lifestyle helps to regulate and strengthen and develop strong hormones from the food itself. It cleanses the body, gets out the heavy metals and the toxins that often prevent fertility with women today. And so there are some supplementation that I would suggest. One we created a number of years ago is called the Life Give Hormone Power. Number two, I would strongly suggest glutathione. You can now look at taking it orally. There's a good source called Max out of Asia. We've been successfully using patches for years called Life Wave patches. And in addition to that, if you go to an alternative doctor, she or he could often offer you IVs of glutathione. Much easier to take it orally or through the patch, though, for most people. This is something that helps your immune system strengthen and build itself to a point where you're ready to accept another human being inside of your body and have him grow into a healthy little creature. The other thing I may say to you is that you may have to start to look at the attitude, because the mind has an awful lot to do with this. And if you're anxious, and so often we've seen this, people do not have babies under those conditions. How many people have you met in your life that tried to have children for a decade? Once they relaxed and didn't worry about it, and they adopted a child quite often, there, lo and behold, their biological clock began to work again. So just be calm about it. Minerals, making sure you're getting good minerals from foods, organic root vegetables without the high sugar content, anything from a rutabaga to a turnip, also from sea vegetables where you wash off the residue of sea salt on the top of it, and if you like, redehydrate that and eat them. Great sources of minerals, things like celeriac, another root vegetable. And some of you may find ionic forms, very easy to digest forms of minerals out there. Another great support system. Of course, needless to say, we need proteins. And when on the Hippocrates Living Food program, there's no question about you getting all the protein you need. This, without a doubt, is one of the highest protein diets you could possibly eat. So have fun out there, and I'm sure if you relax, you'll end up with your little bundle of joy. I'm being asked about hair. I guess my hair is interesting to a lot of the listeners out there. Well, the fact of the matter is, to have good hair, you have to eat well for a long time. You have to exercise, and also, unfortunately, you have to have good genes. Not to say you have bad genes if you have no hair or graying hair, but some people are predisposed to balding or graying because of family heritage. On the other hand, many of you out there balding and graying prematurely are doing so because you've lacked two minerals long term, one being zinc and one being copper. Copper is only needed in minuscule, very small amounts, where zinc is a consistent need, not in high amounts, but consistent everyday use. The experiment we suggest is find a very fine quality of liquid minerals, and then take 2 times the amount of zinc in the morning, to at night just before bed, take 1/2, and do that for 90 days. And if you have white enough hair, you're going to see follicles start to pour out nice dark colors. If you're genetically graying, sorry, Charlie. The other thing I may say to you is that balding has a lot to do with what I just said, but on the other hand, the follicles are often filled with fats, cholesterol. This was done in 2 studies that in a resounding way show that. So the use of a shampoo brush, Fuller Brush is one international company that sells a handheld brush that you wash your hair off with when you're in there in a shower. And do that and rub it, and don't worry if your hair is thinning, it's not going to make your hair fall out any quicker than it would otherwise, but it will start to stimulate the blood flow up there and hopefully clean out those follicles so we can start to have that little hair come out again. The other thing is, what type of things do we use to wash our hair? Many carcinogens, known cancer-causing chemicals, are used in even so-called natural hair colors and hair dyes and hair shampoos, and I don't know conditioners so much, but I think a lot of chemicals are used in conditioners. And the reality is there are good products on the market that don't have that, non-soap type of products that don't leave residual effects behind on you. And you can find these in the better section of your good health stores globally. And so don't just go out and buy anything just because it says natural on it. That's a con in most cases. The other thing I may say to you is that washing your hair on a daily basis is a pretty healthy thing. Anyone that would tell you that that's not true is wrong. If you're eating a deficient diet, of course you're not going to have adequate oils, but if you're getting all the omega-3s and 6s that you need, you'll be perfectly fine. I've been washing my hair on a daily basis since I remember as a child. I had a clean fanatic mom and dad, which I was very happy for. You're asking about steroids, anabolic steroids, and testosterones. Are they human growth hormones? And the answer is no. They're all a little bit different. Now, we've got to be really, really, really cautious with these, because what they do is they assault organ systems of the body. Remember, there's a natural biological rhythm for the human body. When we're young, certain things happen, middle age, and as we mature, other things happen. And when we start to try to impose on our body something that should have happened 3, 4, 5 decades ago, it's not always a great thing for your heart, your liver, your kidneys, etc. Now, human growth hormone stimulators, which I did research on some 15 years ago and show they actually work, which are herbal-based, are the way to go if you're really, really out there looking for human growth hormones. There's one that I know of, Otropin, that we did the work on, that we showed does help people bring back a little bit of youthification without overwhelming the body with the human growth hormone that makes everything grow, including things you don't want to have grow. So be very, very cautious. There's evidence out there today that shows human growth hormones in the way that they're being given by a lot of so-called anti-aging doctors can heighten the chance of cancer dramatically. And so you don't want that. Testosterone, on the other hand, it can be taken by injection or by creams. If it's biologically collected in what we call bioidentical forms or bioidentical hormones, made at chemists, tailored for your specific need, the cream varieties are often good, but you have to do this under the care of a well-experienced physician. This would not be something I would do with you because I have little to no knowledge about it. But somebody who has a lot of experience could be helpful in that area. Anabolic steroids, for growth patterns, I'm not sure you ever need it. I would rather see you just do what it takes to build muscle strength up and use the proteins, prerequisite proteins from vegan forms that we've seen work in thousands and tens of thousands of cases over the years. Somebody's asking about hemp protein. Hemp is one of the great sources of proteins. Ironically, everyone's out there smoking it today under the auspices it's medical marijuana rather than this is getting me high marijuana. Not such a great idea. Study after study shows, starting in 1989 in Sweden, that there was a direct connection with schizophrenia. And since then, there's been many studies done globally and gathered together by Van Oss. And Van Oss in actually Amsterdam did an analysis of all the studies and concluded something pretty frightening, that when you take marijuana before you're 16 years old, you double your chances of schizophrenia and bipolar, and even go up to as much as 4 times depending upon your family's background and psychiatric concerns. So you could have 4 times more schizophrenia, 4 times more bipolar by smoking marijuana as a youth. After 16, it's doubled and hardly ever goes beyond that. Again, there are cases, though, when the brain is developing, if you have a family history of schizophrenia or bipolar conditions, that it may exacerbate it beyond double. But both of these are pretty alarming numbers when you sit and think about it. On the other hand, getting back to your question, and that's eating the seeds of food grade forms of hemp. Great idea. Great essential fatty acids. In more civilized places in the world, in Puritan nations, you're actually allowed to sprout them because you're country believes you as a citizen aren't going to become a wild marijuana grower, but you're using it for medicinal purposes and health purposes. And the sprouts of them are incredibly good for you. Boy, one of the better foods for you. And I was involved in a peripheral way with a study done over on the other coast there, on the other side of the pond, that showed that you can actually increase by dozens and dozens and dozens of times the uptake of the omega-3s when you sprout hemp compared to not. In these Puritan nations where we can't sprout hemp, we're relegated to use it in an unsprouted form where they take it out of the shell, and as I do, I sprinkle some on top of my salad every night when I eat, along with 4 other seeds. One of them are chia seeds, the other is poppy seeds, the other is flaxseed, the other is hemp seed. And so there is my wide array of seeds because they are packed with phytochemicals, essential fats, and complete proteins. All of those seeds, including hemp, are complete protein and a very, very good source to build muscle, if that's what you're attempting to do. We're back to stretch marks again. I know vanity sometimes is pretty important. Every time I look in the mirror, I say, my God, it would be a lot better with a little smaller nose, but what are you going to do? What I'd like to talk about is stretch marks again. Now, stretch marks are something that I still possess because little did I know that I would become a health authority one day and have to expose my back to a wide array of people when I'm on stage doing lectures about health. Not really. But the fact of the matter is that stretch marks can be helped a little bit, not a lot, a little bit by diet. You have to use those foods that create elasticity. And what are those foods that create elasticity? Very simple, things like cucumbers. They have an ability to create elasticity and hydration into the cell. So flex reduces stretch. So as you flex the skins, as they have more palatability and they can take things in and leave things out and all of that business, what we can at that stage do is have less stretch marks. Strawberries, if you're permitted to take fruit, they have to be ripe, they have to be organic. Ungodly sprays are placed on most strawberries and they're all picked unripened. Really good source, cleans the fats out between the muscles. Also, I would strongly suggest taking all of the mineral-rich foods that you can, because all those mineral-rich foods also have an ability to help to carry out the poisons and toxins that create fat deposits that are ultimately the underlying cause of these stretch marks.